microphone just right over here. If you guys have any questions, go ahead and start lining up. I'm going to take a few to start us off. And, I want to start by asking about the play, the adaptation of the play. You mentioned at the beginning that you originally directed the play, and talk about the process of bringing that into a film and why you did it.
Yeah. Well, as I mentioned before, myself and the writer that I work with, Matthew Widdett, who also plays Conrad, the father, and Jonathan Oxlade, who's our scenic and costume designer, we work together making, we've made a lot of theatre shows, and this was the third part of a trilogy of works that we've made, focusing around the teenage experience and the rites of passage story, and looking at fairy tale as well. So we were very, very lucky to be approached by a fund called The Hive and invited to apply for funding to make a film. And the premise of this fund was that it was really asking artists that hadn't worked in the medium of film to think about doing that. And because our theatre shows were very sort of referenced film quite a lot, it just felt like a natural fit that we wanted to make a film that had also kind of embraced our quirky kind of theatrical imaginations, the thing that's kind of been quite specific to the language of our work. And then we met our editor, Andrew, our DOP, Andrew Commerce, and our editor, Karen DeCinque. They were, we needed to kind of bring people into that team that shared our kind of own sensibility. And we made this as a play, but we always knew that we were making it as a film, but that gave us a great opportunity to explore the storytelling with an audience before we then went ahead and kind of committed it to the film. But of course, between that we had to do a lot of adaptation, which included casting the kids, because in our shows all of the roles are played by adults. So that was really, really beautiful and amazing to kind of find, particularly Bethany, who plays Greta, and Harrison, who plays Elliot, but then even Maya, who plays the mean girl. She has never done anything before. She came out of a just kind of open call, upload your audition to the internet. So whereas Harrison and Bethany had done quite a bit, but yeah, it was just a really joyful process. Amber and Matt and Eamon were all in the stage show as well. So the way that we work together is very, very kind of tight and collaborative.
And so you create this wonderful world, not just in the sort of fantasy tropes, but also in the 1970s aesthetic of the film. Can you talk about what were your reference points? How did you create those fantasy elements in the dream sequences, but also just the production design in general?
I think that we love design, and we love design as a language and as a visual language, and we really love the 1970s because it looks really amazing, and the music is amazing, and it's the era that I grew up in, and so it's also a really interesting time to set a girl's story because it was really, the birth of women's liberation in Australia. So someone like Greta, who's kind of going through that process of becoming an adult, for a girl at that time, there were different models, different options, and one was her mum, who, had probably been a more kind of traditionally the kind of running the house, and then you got her sister on the other hand, who is very much, you feel is going to kind of take on the world and is kind of contacting the world with all her love of European pop music. And so the design and just the way we like to tell stories. I mean, when you work in the theatre, you are dealing with real time and real space. So we are quite lateral when we work in the theatre in how we tell stories, and we wanted to keep that. And it was great meeting Andy and Kaz, who were, did kind of like that maverick element of approaching this film and kind of embraced it too. So yeah, the design, we looked at a lot of 70s photography. We liked kind of the ratio, the way the kind of colours pop, and all that stuff was part of telling the story.
And what about the sort of fantasy elements?
The fantasy? Yeah, well, the fantasy, I guess, because we have made several works about that rites of passage, we made a couple of works that one was focused on the alpha male, and that was really looked at the kind of whole adrenaline charge of being a teen, and kind of the risk factor, and like engaging with your friends, kind of doing wild stuff. And then this film really looked at the kind of polar extreme of that experience, which is much more the the latent part of being a teenager. But when you're a teenager, well, for me and for and for a lot of people, there is just an aspect to that experience where you spend a lot of time just alone lying on your bed or wherever it is, just in your own mind and in your own imagination. And to some degree, you don't really have that luxury after that. And it is a time where I think for Greta, the dream sequence was just our way of kind of representing what, they were kind of drop-in moments for her in her psyche. And we love fairy tales, so we love this idea of the forest as a place that you go as a metaphor for the teen experience. And this is, in fairy tale forest is where you go, it's dark, it's, it's full of the unknown, it's always quite liminal, it's a space where you have to change yourself to come out the other side. And we thought that was a good metaphor for being a teenager. And then the dream, I guess, is just, because fairy tales are so deeply psychological on many levels, it was, how she was experiencing her father at that time as, someone who was trying to hold her back and whose own identity was being challenged by the fact that she was becoming older, and I think this deep fear that she has that she might become like her mother, represented by the frozen woman, and then of course all of the kind of sexuality with the character of Benoit Tremé. So yeah, it just felt like a kind of great way to kind of dig down and be playful in how we kind of represented that experience, but also, be truthful to what we felt that experience was in a very heightened, stylized way. Yeah.
And did you struggle with this sort of deep emotional storyline and then the high fantasy elements? I mean, you balance them wonderfully in the film and create this original vision for the film.
Oh, thank you very much.
Did you struggle with striking the balance in the editing process?
I don't think so, because I feel like, it's something that even in our theatre that we like to play with, it's like a kind of knife edge between, it can be kind of, it can twist, it can kind of navigate that. And I think a lot of the things that we did in the film we trusted because we do them in the theatre so much, and maybe they're not conventional film things, but we know that audiences come with us when we play like this and tell stories this way. So, and I just, it's just a good feeling to watch something where you don't know what's going to happen next. It's kind of has a visceral effect on you as an audience member, and I think it makes you feel like you're in a dream. Dream is very, but yeah, I think, so that kind of balance between the comedy and the drama, I think, is something that we always play with in our work, and we like to kind of, go from one to the other as part of the experience.
And so now that you've had the experience of making the film, is your next project going to be a play or a film where you bounce back and forth between the two?
No, I'm working on a play at the moment. So when I go back to Australia to start working on that, but then after that we all hope to make more films now. That was this. We felt like this was, like, for us, just the beginning of it. It was an amazing journey. It was having made a lot of plays, just to have the opportunity to tell a story in a new medium. And then, thank you to Rooftop and to Oscilloscope and, all of when we made the film, we didn't really have any expectation beyond just making the best thing that we could make. And then it's had this amazing journey all around the world that's been quite remarkable. But I think it's just, it was, because it was like film school, it was like we're all kind of like, yeah, give us another go now. Now we kind of we've learnt it, and we know a lot more about it. We'd love to, make another story as a film.
I certainly hope you do. I absolutely love this one, and I hope to see more from you and the team. And I'm going to throw it out to the audience, but first, tell everyone what's next for the film.
For the film, it's really exciting. As I mentioned, it was great to be here tonight, and then the film is going to roll out in September with Oscilloscope in New York, and it'll be in Los Angeles and all around America. So yeah, if you apparently the first weekend is the same in Australia. It's rolling out in September, but the first weekend is very important. So if you like the film, please recommend it, and it's definitely a film that young people like. I mean, that's a very important part of our process. Like, we really want to make work that speaks to young people and their experiences. I think it speaks to a lot of people, but But I know that when I watch the film with a lot of teenagers, that the film is, it does mean a lot to them. So if you have teenagers as well, or if you've ever been a teenager, so it kind of ticks all boxes. Yeah, try and get along, or recommend it if you like it. Yeah.
And you can help spread the word about the film, use #GirlAsleep. And it's going to be playing with another rooftop film, a short film called Pickle.
And we're so thrilled about that, because when we made the film, it was done in the 70s ratio, set in the 70s, and we tried to lobby a few people to say, please, play this for the short. It would be, if that's what they used to do in the 70s, and then to see that happen in America and with Pickle, that's a big thrill for us too.
Well, let's go ahead and throw it up to the audience. I think I see some folks lined up. Right over here.
Yeah.
Hello. Okay, so I have a two-part question regarding this film.
Yeah.
First part being, what was your initial reaction to it actually being adapted as a film? And then secondly, what was your reaction after seeing it tonight? And was it any different or the same as what it was the first time that you actually saw the film?
You mean how do I compare it to the play?
Well, I mean, like, how did you receive it when you saw it adapted from play to film, and then how does that compare with now?
Yeah. Well, I think one thing about making a play is that, having made many plays and toured theatre a lot, but it's always an ephemeral art form. And that to me is one of the beautiful things about theatre as a form. But you make the show, it's what it is on the night, and then after the season's over, it doesn't exist anymore. And after the run of the play, so there's something very special about this, because we, as artists that work in that ephemeral medium, we've suddenly got something that we can keep watching, and to get to watch it with a whole diversity of audiences is pretty amazing. So yeah, I mean, I still feel really proud of it. It was, I watched it a lot during when we were shooting it, and obviously when we were editing it, I was watching it, twice a day during that, towards the end. So when we kind of finished it, I couldn't watch it for a while, but then it's a whole new experience when you do watch it with people, and that it just kind of puts you back in there.
Okay, thank you.
No worries.
We have another question.
I could see people for a minute then. Something happened.
Hello.
Hi.
I just wanted to say I really enjoyed the play.
Thank
the
you.
show. There we go, sorry. Yeah, I thought it was really good. So I just wanted to start off by saying that. And
Thank you very
then
much.
I have a question about the end, which I will ask you, especially because you grew up in the 70s.
Yeah.
And because you're here. So at the end, when they switched clothing, I thought that it was definitely commenting on gender identity. And I was wondering, from your perspective, the way that nobody reacted negatively to them switching clothing, was that more of a metaphor for today's teenagers, or do you think that people would have at all reacted that way? Because to me it seems like it's breaking down gender binaries, and it's very surprising to me to think that in the 70s that wouldn't have been way more controversial than it is now. I'm also a high school teacher, so
Yeah, I mean, I guess when you think about it, 70s was the era of David Bowie, gender bender, and so in some ways I think things go backward, they go forward in that regard. I feel, I think sexuality around that time is so can be kind of quite so fluid and emergent, and I think that the statement, not the statement, but for me, what I see in that final moment in the story is that it's really about Greta, and Elliot, I think, has always been this way, but Greta saying, I'm gonna navigate this, I'm gonna take this road the way that I want to take it. I want to take this journey the way that I want to take it. So that's just, I'm gonna do it my way. That's kind of what I feel that the message is there.
Thank you. I really like that message.
Oh, good. Thank you for coming. Thank you.
And I think we have another question.
We do. I'd like to say that Australia's a big place, but Amber Minwan, the who played the mother.
Yeah.
I came here tonight, and Australia is not a big place, so I went to Amber Midbarn's 21st birthday party.
Awesome. Amazing.
Back when, and she's an amazing person, a good friend of mine. I did not realise it was in this film. I
Great.
went away far too
Yeah.
long. How was the process working with my good friend Amber?
I worked a lot with Amber, so she's been. I've worked, as I said, like a lot of the artists that made the film are very close. We worked together on a lot of projects, and so I've worked with Amber many times. She's just remarkable, lateral, playful, but she's just got a lot of depth to her work, and she's always just an absolute joy to work with. I'm getting to make another project with her next year, so I'm very excited about that. I think there's some other people here that know the brother of one of our art department who did all of our scenic design, and also the uncle of one of our extras, and the good friend of our DOP. So yeah. It's a small. Is it like it's a big world? It's a small world.
We are.
Yeah. Yeah.
Australians.
Yeah.
Well done. Thank you very much.
Thank
It's great
you.
to see Adelaide on the screen.
You have to tell me your name and I'll say hi.
Nathan. I sent her a message already. So
Oh, awesome. Excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah, and for her that was great because, she's very well loved as a theatre actor in Australia, Amber, but she never really has much of an opportunity to work on film, so...
She's hilarious.
Yeah, so for this she really loved the experience, and also she's keen to do more, so yeah.
Thank you.
Thank you.
All right. We have one more question right here.
Hi, super well done. I thought it was very well executed. Can you talk a little bit about your choices with color in the film? I noticed a lot of the juxtaposition with like yellow seemed to be her sort of adolescent comfort color, and then blue was things she found adversarial. The mother always wore blue in the tux and stuff like that.
Yeah.
And how much of that was present in the stage show, and how much was new for the film?
I think it got a bit more specific when we came to make the film. So there's a lot of kind of pink. I mean, we usually work even in a theatre fairly tightly with palette, that's for sure, and with Jonathan, and then of course with Andy as well on this film. So the designer and the DOP. But I think we looked at so much of the 70s photography, and we just got much more kind of specific when film is so critical as a medium in some ways compared to theatre, which is kind of a lot larger. So that was that was a lot more refined when we came to make the film. How we kind of transition the palette, and how the palette kind of operates in different parts of the story and with different characters.
All right. Well, I think that's all the questions we have. Thank you guys
Great.
all for coming. Let's hear one more big round of applause for Rosemary.
Thank you very much. Once again, thank you so much. Thanks for having us. It's been absolutely amazing. It's such a thrill.